Welcome to another edition of Business Today, where we discuss in depth the business world and its dealings. As always, we've got an interesting show for you. Today, we are going to be focusing on the tourism industry. We are focusing on this because tomorrow, the airports open. Of course, there are a lot of international topics that are trending right now, including the inauguration of the newly elected US president that will affect the world affairs. So this is a hot topic right now. To talk about this, we brought on a familiar face, someone who has been with us before. We have brought on the CEO of Mosvold Boutique Hotels. We'll learn a little bit about him before we have a chat.
Mr. Nilanka Martinus is the director and CEO at Mosvold Srilanka. He was the former deputy manager at National Development Bank plc. He has received a Bachelor of Business Administration for International Business from Northwood University and Bachelor of Business Administration for Marketing at BI Norwegian Business School. Under the leadership of Mr. Nilanka, Mosvold Boutique Hotels was recently named Best Luxury Boutique Hotel at the 14th World Luxury Hotel Awards. This comes as the second consecutive win for the boutique hotel, which was titled Luxury Beachfront Villa Asia Continent in 2018.
And Mr. Nilanka Martinus is with us. Welcome to the show. Great to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and now, of course, like I said, tomorrow the airports reopen. And I think you guys have a lot of work in the industry. Take us through the opening itself. How did that come about? What can we expect?
So I think we've been working on this. The Tourist Board and the Development Authority have been giving this a lot of thought, simply because it's about time that there is a revival in tourism. This is our peak season, that it's a European winter. So after many discussions with the Ministry of Health and with other officials, they've come out with a fairly safe and secure opening plan. They have hotels that have been certified by KPMG as safe and secure level 1 hotels for tourists. They're looking at a 14-day quarantine before they can go out to the community. And a few other things where basically they're trying to protect the local community as well as enable tourists to come in and enjoy the natural beauty that Sri Lanka has to offer. This will kick off, I think they kicked it off in December with the pilot project having the Ukrainians come in, and they learned a lot from the process. There were people from the Tourist Board accompanying these groups, learning from the mistakes, learning from the issues that happened. Then they fixed the plan a little bit. So they've laid out a set of guidelines for hotels, for travel agents, for guides, for drivers, for tourist sites. I think it will work initially in the short run, even with the 14-day, because there's so much pent-up demand in the market. People have been stuck at home since last March, more or less. These are travelers, especially from Europe, who are used to traveling 5 times a year. It is still now almost 1 year and they have not traveled at all. So we will see some interest. There are inquiries coming in. There are a lot of people who want to try and spend their winter here because it's quite cold and dark and depressing back in Europe. So this will lead, I think, in the right direction to how we can start to welcome more and more people back in a safe and secure manner that also protects the people, the Sri Lankan people, of course, which is most important.
Of course, no, Mr. Martin is, like I said, we are open, a lot of guidelines are in. You mentioned about the level 1 rated hotels. Now, one of your hotels are also rated level 1. What was the process like to get the level 1 certification?
So initially this happened mid last year in August, September, when Tourist Board decided that we needed to have hotels that were safe and secure. More than for foreign tourists, it was actually, okay, for local tourists who are coming in, how do we ensure that we don't, there is no risk of COVID transmission within the property. So they liaised with the Ministry of Health and they came out with a set of guidelines that we had to follow. It's anything from training of staff to sanitization processes in the hotel, to how the laundry is handled, how the food is handled, how the food is cooked and stored. So things like that basically make up hotel operations, they have gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and given us recommendations as how to behave in a manner or operate in a manner that reduces the risk of COVID transmission within the hotel and within guests in that hotel. So once that was done, then they decided they're going to use an outside party to audit each and every hotel and how they implemented the said guidelines. So KPMG came in with their auditors and they looked at every aspect of the guidelines that were given to us and how they were implemented in each and every hotel. The guidelines will differ, of course, from star class hotels to large properties to small properties to boutique hotels like the ones that we have. Initially, I think there was a list of 55 that passed, and then we were told, okay, if you have the safe and secure certification, you can also opt to be a level 1 hotel, which means you will be able to accept tourists coming in from tomorrow, but you can't accept locals when those tourists are in-house. A few of the hotels have opted to do that. We are one of many, I believe, and we are now, of course, coming back up to speed. Staff are being retrained, new audits are being done to ensure we are following things. Just to make sure that when we do get the guests, that everything happens according to plan, because this is a private sector led industry, and I think as hoteliers and hotel owners we have a huge responsibility to support the government in the step that they are taking, because it is not possible for them to monitor this 100%. So we have to take the onus on ourselves to monitor the guests that stay with us.
That's exactly it. I think a responsibility of the industry is to actually lead by example, and
correct.
That is something great. Now, talking about the tourism industry, we are always in competition with the local region itself, the South Asian region, our neighbors in, of course, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and of course, different parts. How are they faring? How are the people around us doing?
So if you take an example as an island destination, I think we are a tropical island destination. Thailand is a competitor, Bali is a competitor in Indonesia. Then we have the Philippines, we have Maldives, we have to some extent the Andaman Islands is also picking up now. So Thailand, I believe, still requires a long stay visa, and also they have a quarantine process like we do, and I believe there's a minimum stay as well. Indonesia still seems to be closed except for people with a business visa. Some people have managed to get business visas and go and enjoy Bali because there's hardly anybody there. Maldives, on the other hand, has picked up because they opened last July, and there's a lot of Indians flying in private jets, high-end affluent travelers who are coming into Maldives from the Middle East, from India. A lot of the resorts are operating at either beyond 50% or at peak capacity at the moment. If you take Dubai as an example, they have now opened up and said if you have a negative PCR test on arrival, you're free to do as you wish in the city. They are packed, in the sense the world's busiest travel corridor, air travel corridor at the moment is London to Dubai. So even the real estate market has seen a slight uptick in Dubai because people in the European regions are going through lockdowns and they're not happy about it. So they are looking at investing money in apartments or renting apartments or homestays or villas in Dubai to spend lockdown away from the winter and the conditions at home. So in the region there are certain good things happening. I feel with Sri Lanka also now being put on the map as a country that is safe, has relatively low numbers, is known to have a fairly good administrative system in terms of healthcare. I think we are going to do very well if we can manage the situation in terms of how tourists are treated on the ground here. We will go far, because a very, very close competitor to us is Bali, and the tourists in Bali and the tourists around the world, they know the healthcare system in Indonesia is not good. They don't trust the numbers, they don't trust the system. They trust us a little bit more.
And also, not talking about, you talked about it a little bit, the people are coming in, people are interested to travel. Are there anything that we can do to market ourselves to the world that will increase the uptake? Will it be advertising our healthcare system or talking about our safety in community? What can we do to actually uptick it and not put the social or the citizens at risk?
That's a difficult question. The reason for that is, see, a traveler is normally used to freedom. I mean, not only a traveler, I would say we as people want freedom. We don't like to be put in a box, we don't like to be caged. So when you tell someone you can come to us, we are open, we don't have a minimum stay, but you have to stay at level 1 hotels. You cannot leave the boundary of the hotel. There is now a discussion I hear where the tourist board is trying to demarcate areas of the beach so that people can at least use the beach, which is why majority of the people come here, especially at this time. So it will be very difficult, I think, to keep them in one place. If we are to be successful, we need to adopt an attitude where, okay, we will test you on before boarding your flight and on arrival, and then we should have a technological way of keeping track contact tracing of where you are, and then let them sort of do what they have to do, go to the sites they have to go to. It will take a little time because there is also social stigma associated with COVID in Sri Lanka, but it will happen, I'm sure. We are a young nation, we are growing, we will understand that everything has its own time, but it will happen. In terms of the overall marketing of Sri Lanka, I think we need to move away from the traditional thing that we've been doing, which is selling our beaches. Sri Lanka is a country where within 3.5 hours you can pretty much go from a beach to a tea plantation to a historical site to cycling in the mountains to hot air ballooning to you name it. There's so much variety in such a small area. We need to focus also on our culture, on our people. The new traveler is looking for an experience. He's looking for a memory. He's not looking for a nice hotel or a beautiful. They are looking for a beautiful beach, but they're looking for an experience on that beach. What do I do there? It's what do I take back with me? What is the learning I have? What are the connections I make? So it's quite important that we moved into an experiential marketing model. I believe people have understood this over the years. It is happening in the private sector slowly. I mean, if you look at not the very high-end travel, but if you look at for example, the yoga retreats, the surf camps, these are people who are coming in to mix with the locals, to understand how they operate, to understand their difficulties, how they live their lives, because it's completely alien to them.
To be treated as part of the citizenry rather than someone who's outside.
Correct. So they don't want to be a bubble tourist. They want to be inclusive. They want to be included in everything that happens within that village, within that area that they're staying in. And those guests stay for longer. They come back more often because they have a connection with not only the place, but with the people around that place, with the staff that they dealt with the people they met on the beach, with the people they met in the shops, the guy who took them on the hike, things like that. So as a country, we need to shift our thinking and our focus. Do we sell the only thing that everybody else can sell, which is a beach, because there are enough tropical beaches in the world? Or do we actually exploit who we are? We are a country where for the last 2,000 years, so many different cultures have come here, have lived here. It's a melting pot. We can exploit that, and we need to do that, definitely.
That can be marketed there.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, and also now, talking about the tourism industry, you touched on it a little bit. It's not the hoteliers and the restaurants who are just doing tourism. There are so many facets and so many industries and so many entrepreneurs involved in those markets, small and medium enterprises. How did they fare during COVID, and can they come back at a certain point when the things get back to the normal, whatever it might be after a vaccine is introduced, and we might see that happening, I think, towards the latter part of the year. With that happening, can they come back, or will the industry change forever?
I mean, So we basically own and operate together with a business partner one of the largest, actually the largest surf camp in Sri Lanka, with 22 surf guides from Valigama, Ahangama, Mirissa, who we've trained, developed, and sort of they execute the programs for us, the surf program. These guys are 100% reliant on tourism. They have no education or no formal education. They have no formal business as such to do. They earn money because we pay them for what they do in terms of surf, and when they don't work, they want to surf. They have been hit quite hard. The only other job that they know is to become an apprentice on a fishing boat or a fishing trawler. And now with the suppressed demand, even that job is difficult because there's more people than there are jobs. So these guys are still surviving because they are from that particular village. Say if they are from Valigama, they are from Valigama. They live there, they've been born there. So food security is not such an issue. They have a little piece of land, they'll do some, they'll sell some fruits, or they'll do something and survive. They need our support. They need the tourists to come back. They need people to be out on the beaches for them to sell a surf lesson, or for them to be able to take them somewhere, or there are so many aspects of what they do that depend on us having tourists in physical form on the island.
A lot of people are surviving by the skin of their teeth. Yeah.
Basically. And everyone from the guy who sells the tambili to the guy who basically will, comes and cleans the coconut trees in the hotel, to the tuk-tuk driver, to the guy who sells food, to the guide who is taking the tourists around the island. They have no business now. So there is a lot more than what meets the eye. And all these people are unbankable. They are not reachable by the government in terms of aid. So the businesses and the tourists keep them going. So this has to happen at some point.
It is very important.
It's very important.
And thank you, Nilanka Martinus. That was very informative, and I think something that we all recognize is Sri Lanka is a tourism-driven country to a certain extent. And that was Mr. Nilanka Martinus, the CEO of Mosvold Boutique Hotels, with us. With that, we will be winding up today's edition of Business Today. Thank you for joining us. Do join us next time. Till then, good night.